Hey everyone, it's Zach here, and it is currently like 4:15 in the morning. As I expected, I couldn't sleep last night, so we're gonna hit the road really early. It doesn't get late till 7, so the first 2.5 hours at least, I will be driving in the dark, which is fine. But I wanted to leave early to make sure I can beat any other traffic. But this video is going to be the story of my $500 beater car, which I'm now in for $750, maybe $800, and the journey it takes me on. Because this is probably going to be about 4 to 5 hours worth of driving. 4 hours would be like no stops, but I'll probably find some food somewhere and everything else. It'd probably be 5 hours. I have to get gas and stuff. So yeah, that's this is the story. Let's hope that we make it. We are off. So what are my concerns for this trip? It's a long trip. I have a few. First of all, let's talk about the little trailer I have. It's a Harbor Freight trailer. I repacked the bearings on it, and everything with it seems fine, but it's a long trip for a little Chinese trailer, so we'll see how well that goes. Other concerns is obviously just this car in general, being as cheap as it was. I drive it every day to work, so I know it's reliable, but a long trip like that, going 70, this thing screams at 70. I mean, it's like 32 to 3,500 RPMs. So hopefully, a long trip like that, this thing will actually like it, because it can burn off a bunch of carbon and stuff. But other than that, we had a little bit of antifreeze that somehow leaked out, which I really didn't get enough time to properly diagnose. Plus, I really didn't want to diagnose it, because it's one of those things where once I know what it is, it's going to make me nervous. So let's just keep on bucking. But I will be periodically, like when I get gas, I'll make sure that we're not dripping anything crazy. And I thought of one more thing that makes me nervous. For whatever reason, the headlights, ever since I've owned this car, they've flickered. I put a new battery in it. I've bench tested the alternator, and for whatever reason, they flicker. So that makes me nervous, in the sense of I hope that doesn't go bad. So normally this point in my drive is roughly an hour, and I just made it in about 40 minutes. But the last 5 miles, it's been wet roads. I thought it was frost, but it turns out, I guess it's snowed. So you can see the roads are wet, and there's a little bit of snow on the edges. So we are gonna go slow through here. Couple vehicles here. Four-wheeler. And oh yeah, somebody totally wiped out. That's not good. Alright, this little town here, cruising through it. Is the McDonald's open? Because I'm hungry. I think they are. So sweet. It is breakfast time. Finally found a McDonald's that was open. Woohoo! But I will say this, I did a little check, and everything's looking good from what I can see. But it is icy. That parking lot was icy, so I really have to take it easy on these roads. Alright, we are on the main highway, cruising. cruising. Everything's so far so good, knock on wood. So we're driving here and I was thinking, man, my lights are getting dim. And then my battery light kicked on. Like just barely. And then my lights brightened back up again and now we're fine. So I don't know. We still have 30 miles until we hit Duluth. Maybe she'll last. This is the adventure, right? Yeah, you can tell just right now how dim they are. Got a weird voltage problem. Whatever. Alright, so we made it to O'Reilly's, and about 2 blocks from here there's an Advanced Auto, so I'm hoping one of these locations will have a alternator for me. I didn't like that at all. That was scary. Alrighty everyone, so we are heading back up. It is 8:50 right now. And I went to that first O'Reilly's, and they didn't have the part for me. So then I had to go to a second O'Reilly's, which did have the part, the alternator. So I think it took me like an hour from parking this thing to leaving again. Was all that I needed, which I'm gonna say is a win, because that sucked. But hopefully that fixes it. Like I said, we got a fresh battery in here, and ever since I owned it, the lights had been flickering like that. So I'm gonna say that's what it is. But yeah, like I said, it's just before 9. I still got, I don't know, 2 hours, probably more. So I'm gonna stop and give me a cherry Coke because I deserve it, dang it. So yeah, let's hope that fixed it. I won't know, I guess, unless something happens, I won't know it until tomorrow. So tomorrow night. Oh, what a day. All right, guys, see you in a little bit. Kind of happy that I had an hour setback. Look at this road. I bet an hour ago it was a lot more like on the left hand side there than on this right side. Oof. We have entered no man's land. The portion of my drive that does not have any cell phone reception. You can see the flashing lights far ahead. That is the I imagine it'd be like the salt truck, because there's a lot of sand and salt back there, but right now I'm not seeing much. Here's some. There. Well guys, we're driving here, and I'm like regaining my power back, but I lost power for a while and it's cutting in and out, and I do not know what on earth, if that's maybe just a connection issue, but it's definitely stuttering more, so I think it's not, I think my fuel pump's cutting out possibly, or there's some sort of electrical issue. But I don't want to stop, because the further I go, you know, the better off I am. So I just do not know. I think put that alternator in there. I mean, I guess the battery might be bad, but I had my lights on, and then what happened? Oh, I looked down and my tacks were bad. They weren't working, my main one, and that's when I turned off my lights, and now we are power. My heat's out, so that's done. But if I can just make it as far as possible. I got warm clothes and everything, so I'm not worried about that, but I just hope that maybe I can make it far enough and then be close to maybe some sort of cell phone reception. Alright, I better pull over before I do more bad than good here. Don't want to get stuck here if there's like a semi coming by or something ridiculous. There's just a spot up here I'd really like to get to. So we pulled over here. The car has died. Made it pretty far, but I still have a little bit of power. The engine turns over, but not fast enough to get it going. But I think I have a bad battery because I replaced the alternator, and that seems good. I got oil and everything. Like the alternator doesn't seem to smell bad, so maybe I got a garbage battery. I don't know. I don't know how to go about it either. I mean, as a person ripped the battery out. Anyways, I got a hold of Samantha and obviously my dad and stuff, and their dad's coming to get me, and then Samantha said that more than likely what'll happen is she'll just come get me tomorrow. That way I can hunt tonight and tomorrow morning, and then she'll just get me tomorrow midday and we'll drive back. So yeah, and then the car, I guess, will have to stay up here or something until I bring back a trailer, or maybe I'll take the battery and have it tested, and maybe they'll say, oh yeah, it's a bad battery. But we were cruising, man. We were making it. This is pretty though. The thing is, this whole trip, right, I'm excited for this kind of stuff, right? This is like the unknown, right? And it's fine. You know, if you have the right mindset, it don't matter. Like, sure, my car is broken down. It's a pile of crap. It sucks. It's inconvenient for sure, but luckily I have a beautiful wife that cares and, you know, still wants me to, I guess, do what I set out for, and was able to get a hold of my dad, so everything worked out. And even if I wasn't able to get a hold of my dad, he was gonna come get me at 11 if I didn't show up anyways, so no rush, right? I got all winter clothes. It'd be a different story, I guess, if I didn't I wasn't prepared. But what a beautiful spot to be stranded. A beautiful river. Look around, look how beautiful this is. How can a person be upset? I think this is kind of fun. This is life. Alright guys, so we're heading back now. It's Sunday morning. It's like a little after 10, probably like 10:30 now. We're heading back. We got both batteries. When we left, they were fully charged, and last night I fiddled around with the battery terminal because I was doing as much research as I could, and there was some corrosion on the battery terminal that I cleaned off, even though they were clean before, but I cleaned them off again, just on the positive side. And then it was a little bit loose, so I put some tin foil in there, try to take up the space, and it tightened it up a lot. So from what my reading is, I don't know which one is bad, but from what my reading was telling me, this is where I actually broke down right there. That's good. So I don't know how many. I was gonna reset my dealio, but I didn't. There's a couple things that, you know, I'm thinking it might be a dead battery, but then again, they said if there's some sort of a connection problem, the alternator won't charge. It's like a default. there's a main fuse for it, but the main fuse looks fine. I don't have a multimeter to test it though, so the testing they did was normally across the 2 points, and I don't have a multimeter. So right now I'm bringing it down to the closest town where we stopped to get our gas and stuff, and there's a repair shop person there. And my dad had some trouble before, and he stopped by there, and the guy was open on a Sunday, so hopefully he's there. I'm trying to drop off the car and then just come and get it next weekend and have them diagnose it, because the battery has a warranty on it and the alternator has a warranty on it. So I really don't need to like buy anything, but I do need the guy to kind of tell me what it is. So I'll pay him for whatever amount of time that is, and that way I can come back up next weekend and fix it, as long as he's okay with that. If he's not okay with that, I'm gonna have to park it somewhere else or figure out something. The roads are real snowy. Normally I'd be going, you know, 50, 60 in here. I'm going 45, and I don't have the heat on, and I have to have the window open to keep everything defrosted, otherwise my breath will condensate. So it's cold in here because it was -1 this morning, so it is freezing. I got my gloves on and got my top hat thing on. So yeah, no radio. I'm trying not to hit the brakes because that takes power. Okay everyone, we made it past the point where I felt would be like, if I can make it that far in the first battery, I'll be good. We made it past that point. All my gauges are still going, and I learned that even though I don't have the heater on, this thing still has heat that kind of flows through it. So I closed everything up, and it's not fogging up yet, but I think it's just coming through like the vent up there, so it's kind of defrosting on its own, I hope. But fingers crossed we're gonna make it. Alright guys, so I brought it to the mechanic guy and he was there. So then he's like, well, let's bring it in the back real quick, and we did, and he used his checker, his meter thing, and he was able to determine that there's a little three or four prong plug on, there's two connectors and a wire that's on the alternator, and that 3 or 4 prong one of the tabs was not connecting quite right, and as he was wiggling it around, my battery light was going on and off. And then yeah, so then he took a little tool and he bent the little tab, and he's like, you should be good enough to get home. He's like, but I'd put a new end on it sooner rather than later. And so we were driving now, we made our way through Duluth, and my battery light came on for a little bit on the highway, just like 10 seconds, and then it turned off. It didn't just fade in and out, like it turned on and then turned off. So I'm hoping that being it's off, that it's charging, and even if it'll just half charge it, you know, that's good enough. So I think that both things are good. I think it's just that connector probably was telling the alternator to not run, you know, like to not create power. We are off of the main highway. We stopped and got gas, and my battery light didn't come on when we were idling. I thought maybe it was doing that because the battery was so low. It was trying to tell me, hey, something's wrong with your battery, but maybe now that we've driven for over 100 miles, it's had enough time to charge up. Hey guys, welcome to my office. This is a room that you guys probably never have seen, but I didn't really put a proper ending on this video, so I want to have a quick minute with you guys explaining exactly what went wrong. So when I got it home, I troubleshooted it, and yes, the 3-prong plug on the back of the alternator was bad. I have ordered one. It was $10 on Amazon. It'll be here tomorrow, and I just have to cut the old one off, reconnect the 3 wires, plug it back in, and we're golden. With that being said, while I was fiddling with it, I was able to manipulate it. Essentially what's happened is it wasn't the little thing he bent. What it is, there's a little bit of slack in the wires that are in that 3-prong plug, and you can actually push the wires in tight, and then the lights get super bright like they should, and you can just feel the drain of the car's motor because it has to start charging. And from just doing that, I can tell you that that car has had this issue the whole time. The interior lights, like I had my parking brake on, and it says brake on like a dummy light, and that has never been that bright, and it was like screaming at me when I finally got that plug to be in the right spot. And the inside light always was kind of flickery, and it wasn't. It was really bright. And same with the actual driving lights. They are like completely different. So this is definitely something that has been going on. And I mentioned it in the beginning that, I'm kind of nervous about it. And if only I could have seen into the future that this would have been a problem, I probably would have brought it in and had it taken care of. But regardless, we made it up there, made it back. It was quite the adventure, and definitely stressful at times, but like I mentioned, it's kind of about the journey, right? Like my dad says about deer hunting, it's not really about deer hunting. It's about being with family and sharing stories, and that's kind of with duck hunting too. It's the stories and just seeing everybody. So although we had car trouble, and although he mentioned how I just wasn't really in the mood, I was more nervous about getting the car back to a city where people are, because Sam was driving all the way up, so she had to drive 3.5 hours to meet me. And I had to time it right, but if I broke down in that dead zone, it would have taken probably another 2 hours, because they would give me an hour and a half to get to town, and then if I didn't make it, they would come and find me. So if I made it almost to town, but I didn't make it to town, I would have to wait that hour and a half, and then they'd have to drive almost an hour to get me. So it would have really complicated things, and that's what was getting to me, was just the logistics, I guess you'd say, of planning everything. But it all worked out in the end, and I'm glad I was able to bring the car all the way home, because otherwise this Saturday we'd be like packing up and driving all the way back up there and dealing with the same thing. And so I'm happy it all worked out, and it was just a $10 part. We threw the alternator in there. I have no way of knowing if that old one was going out, but a couple of the signs that were popped up, the radio, one of the speakers in the back, kept fading in and out for the last week prior. It just kind of was, you'd start it and there's kind of definitely a pulley that was making some noise, like, and it sounded close to the firewall, which is the alternator is on top and close to the firewall, and I haven't heard it since. So I think the alternator was going bad too. It looked like it had seen its day, smelled like it's seen its day. It was kind of burnt out, and probably all stemmed from a bad connector that over time had burnt it out. So yeah. Anyways, I guess if you have a beater car, put a little volt reader in there so you know where your battery's at, charging or not, and it might save you. If I had something like that, guess what? I probably would have been able to predict all these things. Anyways, it was a fun journey, and we got the car. We're getting the car fixed. So there you go. Sure, I sold a perfectly fine truck that worked great for a car that paid for in cash, and I call it a beater, but mileage wise car truck, they have like almost the same miles. And it was, I still can confidently say that I am so happy to have rid myself of the burden of that pickup truck was. That pickup truck costed me $700 to $800 a month, depending on fuel. And for me to drive equivalent with everything, the car's about $150. So factor it all in, and I'm saving a lot of money every month. And even though the alternator went out, it's kind of expensive. It was about $200 for an alternator, and then another $10 for the stupid plug. But when you break that down into the fact that I've had 3 or 4 months worth of driving of it, when you break it down, I mean, I did the initial tune-up stuff, but when you break it down per month, it's a very low cost in comparison. I mean, the truck's alternator could have gone bad too, and there's just no saying when these things will go wrong. So, enough of me rambling. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and there'll be more videos to come. So, talk to you later.